Nice shot. Parenting isn't easy, and it's even more difficult when your marriage doesn't work out. Attorney Jeffery Leving is the author of How to Be a Good Divorced Dad Before, During, and After the Breakup.
He's one of the country's leading authorities on fathers' rights and a leader at the Fatherhood Educational Institute, which promotes positive fatherhood involvement in poverty-stricken communities. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, so what kind of tips do you have in this book that you feel like, are these frequently asked questions that dads have? Do they assume things will be a certain way and they end up being different?
Exactly. This is my third book, my most important book, and I'm very proud I've gotten an endorsement from President Obama, the Archdiocese. So this is more than just a legal textbook. There are psychological and spiritual components to it, but a critical question that a lot of dads ask me, do I get involved in another relationship before the marriage is finalized? And my answer is...
Wait, they need to ask you that?
Exactly.
Before the marriage is over?
Well, mothers have the same question.
Yeah.
Often divorces can drag out because of other unrelated adult relationships. And a lot of fathers ask me, what do I do? And I tell them, don't, because it could open old wounds, create new ones, and drag out the divorce even longer. So it's very dangerous. But if they absolutely want to, and they refuse to give up what they consider a potential wonderful relationship, a new woman who may be their new wife if they get divorced, I tell them, be discreet, be careful, and if in doubt, check her out and make sure she's safe for his children.
And you say manage feelings of guilt. How do you do that? Why do you need to do that?
A lot of men need to do that, more so than women, because men generally blame themselves for the divorce, for the breakup. They blame themselves for everything. And a lot of men, if not in counseling, and often I recommend a good mental health professional to my clients, and I do that so they don't end up targets looking for an arrow and agree to paying more support than they can afford, or agree to losing important time with their children that can potentially destroy their relationship with their children because of guilt, and they want to be punished.
And a lot of these tips could work for women and men in going through a divorce. Control your anger is a big one.
Exactly, and that's critical, because if you don't control your anger, you could end up with police involvement, and if there's any conflict or domestic violence due to the gender bias in our system, usually the dad's going to go to jail, not the mom, and that could really mess things up.
Talk about the misconceptions of joint custody. I imagine that comes in all shapes and sizes.
Definitely. I'm a big supporter of joint custody. It's an honor that I was able to co-author the joint custody law, but a lot of dads don't know there's a new joint custody law, and they believe that if mom says no, they don't get joint custody. Wrong. That's the old law. It doesn't exist anymore. I changed it.
So when people think joint custody, they think the kids are going to be with you half the time, with mom half the time, but joint custody is not that. It's this weekend arrangement, right?
Well, it depends. There are various forms of joint legal and physical custody. There's even one form called bird nesting, where the parents move in and out of the primary residence where the children live, but that generally doesn't work. But it can, but usually it doesn't. But the key is joint custody doesn't mean it's an automatic 50-50 split of parenting time. That would be wonderful. Sometimes that occurs, but it doesn't always occur. So fathers, dads, moms, the entire family need to know that there are different forms of joint custody, and sometimes a 50-50 split in parenting time is not best for the children. Sometimes it is. You have to know, and that's when you need a good doctor, and sometimes a good psychological evaluation.
A lot of moms out there might say, you know what, most of the situations it's single moms raising the kids and the dads aren't doing enough. Maybe there's feelings of guilt that the dad's not involved, but what do you say to all the single moms out there who maybe the father just seems disinterested? What can the dads do to stay involved minimally, or how do you work that out?
That's something I work out often through counseling. Often dads are pushed out of the relationship sometimes they walk away because they feel they're worthless. They're not. I've lectured to a lot of dads who believe that they bring no value to parenting. That's absolutely wrong. And the Pope recently released a statement about absentee fathers and how critical fathers are and the beauty of fatherhood. Dr. Sigmund Freud also released a similar warning, and his daughter, who became a doctor, wrote a book on absentee fathers. This is a critical issue. It's so critical that the Pope is speaking in September at the World Conference on Families in Philadelphia, in part on this critical issue. Fathers and mothers need to work collaboratively in raising their children. Unfortunately, if that doesn't happen, then you need to get to court and make sure the children are safe.
The book is called How to Be a Good Divorced Dad. Jeffery Leving, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.